Hi everyone, my name is Talia Christian, and today I'm going to be talking about social psychology and social psychology's big ideas. So I have my notes here, so if you see me looking down or over here, that is why. I'm going to provide examples to hopefully connect the information that I'm saying to real life situations. Take them with a grain of salt, they're just things I kind of came up with on the whim, but maybe, pause and think about a situation in your own personal life, and that will help you connect it to the information being provided. So, I'm going to start off with talking about what is social psychology. It's a science that studies how situations influence us with special attention to how people view and affect one another. So, put simply, it's the scientific study of how people think about, influence, and relate to one another. This does differ from sociology because sociology is the study of people in groups and societies, whereas social psychology is focused more on the individual itself. So I'm kind of going to go into social psychology's big ideas to give you a better understanding of what it's all about. So the first big idea in social psychology is that we construct our own social reality. This greatly relates to your reactions to people or events that happen in your life. So an example is maybe you are, maybe your mom picks you up from school and she's being like kind of aggressive. She's on your case. She's like, why did I have to wait for you? Why weren't you standing there in line? And just finding little things to kind of get upset about. So being in that situation, you may be like, why is she on my case? Like, why is she acting like this? And you may react the same way back to that. So in that's going to determine your social reality. If you do that, the situation may develop into y'all fighting all night and maybe through the next day, or maybe y'all start to avoid each other. But if you're kind of just like, maybe she had a bad idea, like, I'm going to sit here and vibe by myself. I'm going to stay really quiet for now, maybe answer any questions she has calmly and let her kind of chill out. And then you may find by like dinner, y'all are like fine and like it's all good, and maybe even find that she's like, you know what, I'm so sorry for like being on your case earlier. I've just had a really rough day, like, and you never know people's circumstances. So the bottom line is there is an objective reality out there, but we will always view things through our paradigm of beliefs and values. And I will kind of get more into that as well in one of the later big ideas. The next big idea I'm going to speak about is our social intuitions, which are very powerful but can be perilous. Perilous meaning like they can be dangerous, they can be deceiving. So our intuitions are basically effortless, automatic feeling or thought. They just happen so naturally and kind of in the back of your head and subconsciously. It's not a very conscious, in your face kind of thing. They kind of just come about. But we could also misread our own minds, making it perilous, or we can mispredict things, we can mispredict, how we would react if we lost our job a week from now, and how that would start to develop our social reality. The next big idea I'm going to speak about is how our social influences shape our behavior. And this kind of relates back to what I was saying, is viewing things through our paradigm of beliefs and values. So what you're surrounded by is going to influence your behavior. We speak and think in words and slangs which we learn from other people. And if you even think about that, think about how that changes from what side of town you're on, from different cities and from different states, then from different countries, and then even from different continents, from Western culture to Asian culture, and all the countries that are included in that, and how language and words and culture is fluid, and it's malleable, and it evolves as time goes on, and depending on what area you're in, and all of that surrounding you, and in where you are located, and not just where you're located, but the people who are around you. That social influence is going to shape your behavior. So if you a really good example is how the church influences people's behavior, right? Like, people's different religions are going to shape their behavior, their beliefs, their values. If you think in terms of your peer group, you know how they always say, like, you are who you surround yourself by. That's because your social influences shape your behavior. So if your peer group is very rowdy and aggressive and living life on edge and taking risks, you are going to develop those same behaviors. If your peer group is very conservative and reserved and quiet, or maybe, I don't know, you are going to develop those behaviors and tendencies. And there's so many different realms of the social groups, and all of that is going to influence and shape your behavior. And you may even find yourself, I don't know if you have different friend groups, and you notice yourself acting a certain way when you're with a certain group, right? So you may act this way when you're with this group of friends, and you may behave a little bit differently when you're with this group of friends. That's all that influence. And even bigger thing now is the social influence of social media. So now you're getting things from other areas, right? If you went on social media and you were really consumed in something, a small niche in say a different, like, let's just say Washington or something, I don't know, you may develop behaviors that are similar to that, just in finding that niche on the internet. And then you'll notice trends develop, so you may shape your behavior to all these little trendy things, and maybe that influences the way that you dress. There's like the cute little frilly kind of style, and then the e-girl, and you may be like, oh, like, I'm gonna take that from that, and see who you're following, and all of that is influencing your behavior. The next big idea I want to talk about in social psychology is your personal attitude. Our personal attitudes and dispositions will shape our behavior. So, personal attitudes, your attitudes toward a situation, an event, or a person, and then dispositions. What kind of situation are you in? And that can come in terms of wealth class. That can come in terms of if you're in school or not. That could come in terms of all different things. So I'll give a few examples. One relating to attitude and kind of your mood, say your certain mood, and one's going to be related to a disposition. So say you're in a bad mood. So there's two attitudes you may have towards that bad mood. You may be quiet and reserved. And then on the other hand, maybe your attitude towards a bad mood is being aggressive. And those different attitudes shape your behavior, which in turn constructs your social reality. The next one is maybe a disposition that you're in. So if you think about somebody that's gone to jail, and their attitude towards that experience, maybe they didn't even commit the crime. But just thinking back to your social influences as well, think about who you're surrounded by when you're in prison and how that's going to affect your behavior. And you may come out very resentful maybe picking up on the behavior of inmates that you shared a cell with or whatever. And so you may go down a path of criminality even though you had never done that in the past. Or on the other hand, and this is more of a radical example, but yeah, you may come out of jail like Nelson Mandela did and unify your whole country and become president. Like, you know, your attitude towards the same situation can have very different outcomes and possibilities. The next big idea in social psychology is that social behavior is biologically rooted. So our mind, our body, everything is intertwined and connected. So we basically inherited human nature predisposes, sorry, I'm mixing up my words. Our inherited human nature predisposes us to behave in ways that helped our ancestors to survive or reproduce. So this is kind of where social neuroscience comes into play. And social neuroscience, it explores social and emotional processes and behaviors and how those experiences go on to affect our brain and biology in our actual body. So this is kind of interesting. If you have social support, it increases your immune system to fight against bacteria and diseases. Think about when you have the death of a family member, like those emotions may affect your body physically. You may like start to feel like you're in actual physical pain. Think about when someone has a broken heart, how it actually feels like your heart is broken. Think about how certain situations are going to affect people's blood pressure. So your emotions in your mind and body is all connected. Your hormones are going to affect your behavior. Oxytocin leading to more like loving behavior, testosterone leading to a more aggressive behavior. So in summary, we are all biopsychosocial organisms. So those are the big ideas. They could kind of be classified into 3 categories. The first one being social thinking. So this is going to include that we construct our own social reality. Our social intuitions are powerful, but sometimes perilous. And our attitudes shape and are shaped by behavior. The second category is social influence. So social influences shape our behavior and dispositions shape behavior. The third one is social relations. So social behavior is also a biological behavior, and feelings and actions towards people are sometimes negative, prejudiced or aggressive, or sometimes positive, helpful and loving. So all of these big ideas and principles can be applied to everyday life and all of its circumstances. So social psychology is basically just all about life. Your life, your beliefs, your attitudes, your values, your behavior, your relationships. It's all about life. So thank you for listening in on this. I retained and received all of this information from the McGraw-Hill Education Social Psychology textbook, 13th edition. I will link it down below. I do want to give credit to that. So thank you for listening in and hearing all about social psychology and its big ideas. Bye.